Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here, and it's time for the Youorns 10-minute take on Watford 4, Queen's Park Rangers 0. The first 10-minute take of this brand new season. Match day 1 in the books. Watford 4, Queen's Park Rangers 0. Indeed, it was a thumping victory for Watford, a well-deserved victory for Watford, and under Val Ismail, the start of a brand new era at Watford and a winning ways era, we hope. And certainly today was one of those days to start off with Watford off to a flyer after just 35 seconds or so, as Tom Dele-Bashiru got the first goal of the Watford campaign. And within 20 minutes or so, Imran Louza chimed in to double Watford's lead. And then after that, of course, it was Martins, who was so good today on that left side, to give Watford a 3-0 lead. And then before halftime, Vakun Bayo, the man coming good, scoring his first of the season for the Hornets to give them a 4-0 advantage before halftime. And that would be the final score. It was a Watford with purpose, passion, commitment, personality, energy, and purpose. They really did have a purpose today, this Watford side under Val Ismail. And I was very pleased to see that these players never, ever wilted from the challenge. Even when they were up 4-0 in the second half was not nearly as good in terms of the passion and intensity. You could see that was going to wane in a game against a QPR side who looked lost and bewildered. And they did not belong on this pitch with Watford, and Watford made sure that they would not after just 30-odd seconds plus, as I said before. But Watford made QPR look poor. Watford made this team who had dominated Watford over the last 14 years. Watford had not won at the Vic against QPR since 2019, and we understand there were Premier League seasons in between, but still, this QPR side had Watford's number, particularly at Vicarage Road, until today. Watford found a way through very quickly, and I think that was the most important thing, that they scored as early as they did, because it got the fans of Watford instantly engaged in this game, something that we haven't been able to really say about our crowd at the Vic for so long, because the players on the pitch haven't given Watford fans much to even shout about or get engaged in for a number of seasons now here at Vicarage Road. And that was the difference today. This team was on it from the very beginning. This Watford men's team were very much engaged, interested, played like a team, played with passion and energy and purpose and spirit. And there was a teamwork aspect that was so undeniable. They absolutely swarmed for every ball they lost. They worked together to win back possession. They played as a team together on the pitch. The build-up was very good. I love the fluidity today of all of these players. And I think one of the things that was interesting in a starting lineup that looked exactly the same as anyone would have from last season, all of these players who started today were all at Watford last season. And I looked up and down that lineup and thought, whoa, we look really thin. We don't look like we've done anything. But Val Ismail reminded us in the post game of this match that mentality makes a difference. A change in mindset makes a difference. And clearing out some of these players and bringing in players, a few players to add around the edges of this team, like a Thomas, like a Jake Livermore, and like a Georgie, like players of that ilk and others who I haven't mentioned, make a difference. We've seen that. Reece Healy as well, who didn't play today. They all made a difference, and the mindset makes a difference, and the personality makes a difference. And one thing that Val Ismail does really well is imprints his idea of what the game is. Usually it takes a good few games before we see the new manager's personality bed into a team. But that didn't happen here. It happened immediately. This didn't take a few games. It took the first game of a championship season for all that work that Val had done in the offseason with these lads to materialize on the pitch instantly in the first game of a new season. That tells you about Val Ismail as a head coach, and that he won't tolerate any passengers. And all of these players today were not passengers. They were players who played like they cared, like they really wanted to win, not just for themselves, but for the fans. And that was important. There were so many unsung heroes today, but I thought the biggest hero of this game was Jeremy Ngakia, a man I called for Watford to give one last chance to after some very indifferent and up and down seasons, most downs for him and injuries. I thought that Jeremy Ngakia was worth trying on again and worth giving him a shot again. I said even before this season began that Jeremy Ngakia was going to be a key player this season. What was going to happen with Jeremy Ngakia? Where did that leave him? They got Jar Ferreira out of here for a season-long loan, and a lot of Watford fans were turning their heads going, and turned out to be the right move, at least after game number one, because Jeremy Ngakia played like a man possessed. A man was given another new lease on life. And there was flashes of this last season when Chris Wilder put him into the lineup and told him to go for it and take a shot at goal. And Jeremy Ngakia did that in a couple of those games. And you saw the potential of this young man, because I think he has a lot more to offer than I think some people see. And he certainly showed you today why, in my view, he was the Orns man of the match, because he was so good in every department. He played right back, then he played left back. He created a chance. He had an assist, at least 1 or 2 assists. His build-up play was very good. His discipline play was very good. He absolutely played very well indeed. He was up for every ball, every second ball. All these players today were, but Jeremy Ngakia was my man of the match. Imran Louza was second on that list. I thought he was terrific. Marshaled that midfield very well, went forward, had a few shots on goal, scored the goal. And of course, TDB I thought was sensational as well. He got on the score sheet, as I've said. This Watford side showed you some personality. I think Val Ishmael gives them personality, and you saw a lot more energy and spirit about this team, much more togetherness, much more of a team that gelled together. No one was standing around, looking around. Everybody fought for every loose ball. That's the kind of thing we want to see every game in and game out. And what you saw are players. These are the same players that were here last season. Players who had a new lease on life, players who were allowed to have a more expansive game, even within the very rigorous and disciplined and tenacious work ethic that Val Ishmael puts forth. You had players who were then allowed to add personality to their football. And once they get embedded into the system that Val has put in, they then flourish. And you saw that today against a QPR side who just did not have any ideas at all, especially in the first half. So much so that QPR fans even booed the players of their own team, and they probably richly deserved it. And some of the fans for the QPR side, they walked out of the building. By the time halftime came, they were done. A number of them were. But look, for a Watford perspective here, Watford fans are going to be very pleased about this. And yes, I can forgive people saying top of the league, because I've been saying we are top of the league, because we are at the minute. Whether we win the league or not is an open question, and there have been a number of Watford fans on social media who have been chiming in with we're going to win the league. But after a 4-0 win, you can say anything you want. But the fact is, you still got 45 more of these encounters to go before we get to who will be where at season's end. But again, giving these players the freedom to play their football, giving them much more expansiveness. They were much more one-dimensional last season, these footballers, much more so. Very selfish, very individualistic, very narrow, would do the bare minimum, if at all. Versus this season, in one game already, we've seen a team that's generous with itself, with each other, looking out for each other, looking after each other on the pitch, working together on the pitch, tracking back, winning that second ball, playing fluid football, looking to use the channels as quickly as possible, moving the ball a lot faster. The ball movement today was excellent, especially that first half. A team who, even in the second half, when, of course, the intensity was never going to be as good as the first, stuck to their task. There was one moment where I thought QPR might have scored. The chip from Daniel Bachmann and from Armstrong, which did not go, thankfully, into the back of the net. And luckily, it was covered and all was done with. Last season, Watford would have conceded at least twice and made this a lot closer than it had any business being. But this season, under a new manager, Val Ishmael, that was not the case. Watford cleaned up shop today, shut down shop, 4-0 win, clean sheet, great start. Daniel Bachmann in goal, the sweeper role. I wonder what people think about Daniel Bachmann as sweeper and captain. Can he do both at the same time? Well, he certainly did today. A lot of people had questions, including myself, about him as captain, but he certainly was the leader today and really took on that super role with confidence. And that's what I mean about the personality. Val has given these players permission to play their personal football, to play the kind of game that they want to play, but stick within the very rigorous system that he has. And that means you've got players who are up for it, the mentality is right, and the discipline is correct, and they play together. If not, they're on the bench. And that's the thing. He was not afraid to take players off. He subbed off Martins. He subbed off Imran Louza. He subbed off a number of players that probably would have played the whole game last season under another manager. And he brought on Jake Livermore, steady Eddie at the back, did really well, like what he did. And also subbed off players. And Jake Livermore kind of roams in that midfield area as well, by the way. But he subbed off players and brought on Jake Livermore, brought on Georgie, who took on a really good role in this game. It was very flexible, really good forward-thinking player, positive, took a shot on goal, loved to make use of the pitch. I love the way he made use of the pitch, ran the show, points there, brought on Kone, who looked lively, brought on Andrews. Ryan Andrews looked terrific in the short time he was on the pitch, and brought on a Kayembe, who we hadn't seen for months because he'd been injured, hadn't played a game for months for Watford, and it was great to see him back. So, look, there were so many good positives, so many good things about this game. I could go on forever beyond, well beyond the 10 minutes plus. But the point is that Watford was scintillating today in that first half, and long may it continue. This has been the YouOrns 10-minute take.